to another location.
Good Monday evening. Welcome to From the Halls of Justice. And this evening, this show, and this is my legacy of the FILER month. I am so honored and excited to have with us this evening in the room such great and positive people and energy that serve the community every day, and it comes from a legacy that just makes me, it made me want to cry, and it moved my soul. We have with us the Honorable Judge Kelvin FILER, and next to him is the absolutely beautiful youngest attorney, well, I don't know youngest attorney, but newest attorney in the family.
Yes.
Is his beautiful daughter, Kree.
Yes.
And to my right, I have to think because I'm left-handed, so to my right, we have the wonderful Lance.
That's right.
And FILER. And then we also have Anthony. Do you prefer Anthony or Tony?
Anthony.
Anthony FILER. And all of these wonderful counselors and attorneys. This is just amazing.
Thank you.
So I would like for the Honorable Judge FILER,
Okay.
if you would just tell our audience a little bit about your dad, because the story just really moved me.
Certainly. Well, my father was Maxie FILER, and he was a civil rights activist from the 50s. And at that time, he felt that his goal and his career aspiration was to be a lawyer. So he went to law school at night while he was working 2 or 3 jobs and raising a family of 7 children, and my mom, of course, and they both were working. He's going to school in the evening. And he actually graduated from law school in 1967 and started taking the California bar exam. He took the exam twice a year, and to make a long story short, he didn't pass the exam until 1991. So
My hero.
He took the exam 48 times,
Bless his
24
heart.
years, twice a year, and then he passed it. And
That's
because
a man.
he wanted to be a lawyer. Now, in the interim, he didn't just sit around and wait and hope that would happen. He also got involved in local politics. He was very, very involved in forming the Compton branch of the NAACP.
Okay.
Ironically enough, today we are filming this as the anniversary of the historic March on Washington, when Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech.
Wow.
My father carried the California flag for that speech.
Oh my God.
So he's very involved in politics and civil rights movement. He also was working as a law clerk, and ultimately he also was elected to the Compton City Council, and he did that for 15 years before he finally passed the exam and came to work in my law office at that time in 1991. So my father's love for the law, I think he did pass that on to all of us. If he would have had his wish, he probably would have. He'd had 7 lawyers as children. And Anthony and I decided to go that route, and Lance decided to go that route, and now Kree
Beautiful.
has taken that route. And we have one more.
Oh my God.
Anthony's son, Tony, who just took the California bar exam, and I plan on swearing him in November.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, November is my birthday. I might have to go through there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. Let's. Well, it's a good thing. This is once again. This is going to be my legacy month to the FILERs. This is just so beautiful. I want to start with Miss Kree.
Yes.
When did you know that you wanted to become an attorney?
I knew probably my junior year of college. As a kid, I wanted to be like my dad, so I wanted to be an attorney because that's
I got to
he
tell you
did.
this. The first time I had your father on the show, he had a tie on with your pictures on the tie. I'm like, oh my God.
proud dad.
I love this man. This man is wonderful. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so as a kid, I wanted to be like my dad, so I wanted to be an attorney. And then as you get older and you try to find your own path, I didn't know what I wanted to be. And then in college, I majored in feminist studies. And so in doing that, I learned about the way that race, class, and gender intersect and where there are inequalities. And we got to have really meaningful discussions about how people aren't represented and how people are treated differently based on these different classifications. And so I knew that I wanted to do work that addressed that. And so that's when I came back into, I want to do that through the law. And I wanted to go to law school to learn the law, learn who it protects, learn who it leaves out, and then try to push against that while still working within it. So that was how I came back to it.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And what type of law did you want to practice once you knew?
I wanted to do criminal defense. I was really, that is another area where my dad practiced and our family has really been big about criminal defense work. And I also had an interest in looking at when people get out of prison, the stigma that's attached and never really being released from the system, still always having the weight of that conviction follow them. And so I wanted to...
That's powerful.
So I wanted to represent people, to give them a fair shot and to hopefully help in a more holistic way so that when they get out of prison that there can be really more of a chance for rehabilitation as opposed to just punishment.
Now, I recently just went through something with my son that 12 years ago. Now, my son has done his fair share of interesting things, but 12 years ago, there was an incident where he was pulled over by the police, issued a ticket, and he did spend the night in jail. The charges were dropped. They weren't founded. Then there was a B charge on there, and we never knew about it, but somebody showed up at the hearing, and long story short, as a driver for Lyft, a ticket from 12 years ago, he just recently got terminated and suspended because of a ticket from 12 years ago. And I know how much money I've spent paying lawyers, and I know who I wrote my check to, and I'm like, no, this was not one of them. So long story short, we did have a wonderful judge, and we went down to the Metropolitan Courthouse, and the judge suggested, as I stood there before the judge, very nice man, Judge Small, I got to give a shout out. He did not embarrass me, and he said, "Lady, who are you? Are you an attorney?" I'm like, "No, I'm an advocate, and this is my son." And he's like, "Ma'am, you should talk to an attorney." So he allowed us to take a break and select one of the public defenders that were there. And she did a fabulous job. And we ended up, she suggested we get it expunged. And so that was the route we took. But he was very kind to me. But that is powerful, because out of everything, 12 years ago, and you fight to keep your kids out of trouble, and you stay out of trouble, and he's at work on a Saturday, and I finally get to the gym for myself, and I get a phone call from my son going, Mom, they turned my machine off. And I'm thinking, it's rent time. What do you mean they turned your machine off? So yes, a ticket from 12 years ago. So yeah, I was upset, but we got it worked out. Anyway, so I like that. So I think that's what draws you to the criminal defense. Yeah, something 12 years ago shouldn't hold you hostage to something that's going on right now.
Exactly.
And now I like this. What are your biggest reservations about doing criminal defense work?
Probably, I know that there will come a time when there's a case that is going to conflict with my own moral compass. I think about...
You are your daddy's child.
But I think about all the time, like, for example, Trayvon Martin, cases like that where it's like George Zimmerman would need a criminal defense attorney. And how would I be able to navigate that? Or rape cases, or gang shootings where if innocent children are hurt. All of those things are going to be difficult to navigate. And I know I may have some reservations initially morally. So that's going to be something that I know as I do criminal defense work that is going to be either a limit that I draw for myself or a barrier that I'll have to get over in representing the clients.
And I would predict that those are barriers you will get over. And it's good that you have them.
Yes.
Because that's nothing wrong with that. But as you move on in your journey and in your practice, you learn that everyone is entitled to have a good lawyer and adequate representation in court, regardless of what they're charged with, because they are presumed innocent and they remain so until they are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
I had those same reservations with individuals who were charged with selling PCP, because at that time that was tearing up the community. But I had to learn that they are even entitled to good representation. And good representation doesn't mean you're going to get them off. It just means you're going to represent them and make sure that they are fairly treated in court. And everybody's entitled to that.
That's true. I can't.
No, and
disagree.
that's okay. You'll learn. That will come.
Yeah.
That will
That's
come.
true. And we say amen. Okay. And where do you work currently?
I am the associate at FILER Palmer, which my cousin Lance is a founding partner of, him and his best friend Justin Palmer.
Okay.
And they have graciously taken me under their wings, and I started as a volunteer and then a law clerk, and then after I passed the bar, they offered me the position as an associate. So I'm working there and I'm loving it.
Perfect. He gives you a check, right?
I do, and might I add that this is a position that was earned rather than given. We had other candidates who were in mind and other candidates who had volunteered and who had worked even on a case-by-case basis. And in this situation, we went with the most qualified candidate, my cousin Kree.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is just love. I like that. Okay. And smart. Okay. What type of law does the firm do?
The firm does a variety, but our specialty areas are civil, it's like plaintiff personal injury, civil rights, family law, specifically father's rights, and criminal defense.
Interesting. Okay. Father's rights, family law. Yeah, I got you. Okay. That's good. That's very good. And what do you like about working in private practice?
I like having the flexibility. Well, I don't choose the cases I work on, but I like they have the flexibility to choose the cases that they want to work on, and having the flexibility to choose what cases they're going to do pro bono and what cases that they're going to charge, and just the flexibility. I like the team aspect of it, and I'm enjoying all aspects of it so far, but I like that. I know that in a lot of situations, sometimes you just get loads of cases and you may not have a say in what you take, and you just have to do that work. But Lance and Justin are really thoughtful about the cases that they choose to take on, and then they make sure to incorporate me in the process so that it's really a team effort in every case that we take on, and I'm not just sitting in a room trying to figure it all out.
That's good. That's really good. So you do some cases pro bono?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think a conscientious attorney, but especially if he's a member of this family, you better.
Oh, wow. Well, that's heavy. Yeah, we get to have a conversation about something like that too, but okay, that's heavy. So, Mr. Lance.
Yes, ma'am.
Who inspired you to go into the legal field?
Well, I've had lots of inspirations, but none closer. I didn't have to look any further than my own family. My grandfather, my uncles. I've even got an aunt on the other side of the family who's also an attorney. So I saw that, and I saw what they were able to do, not just in our family, but what they were able to do in the community at large. And the admiration that was given to them from the community at large, and the fact that people trusted them with their legal issues, I really always took to heart. And the joy that they seemed to get out of helping people, and to realize that it's not just about them. And it seemed like they were in this business for reasons that I felt very admirable. And not only that, they were always also very good to our family and good to their own family. And I saw that as an inspiration and as a model to something that I would want to model my career after.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. When Judge FILER was on the show, the first time he was talking about when his father would have the meetings at his home, and he mentioned a portion where they would be having the meetings about the city, and they would bring up the attorney, and your uncle would say, "Well, who's this attorney dude? He's getting a lot of respect in here. I like this." So I like that. Lance, what would you have done differently in your path to a legal career if you could do it all over again?
That's interesting. I think that I would have listened more to my parents and had a stronger academic foundation in the baseline, meaning middle school, high school, and college, and those sort of areas. But as the more I practice and the more I talk to younger people, I look at it as more of a strength, because now they realize that you can make a decision, and you can make a decision to get serious academically and decide that if you want a goal that's academic driven, that you can do it. And there's nothing holding you back. There's so many resources now that you don't have to go to the top school and be first in your class. If you outwork those people who may have had a head start on you, and I think it's given me a chip on my shoulder. So even to this day, I continue to work harder, thinking that I have to sort of play catch up. And I think that's actually a service to my clients, because one of my things is that I always tell my clients that no one will outwork me. And I make that pledge to them, and it just continues to push me forward.
Now, a show that we did earlier last month, Mr. William or Bill Wagner was on, and he mentioned the fact that he went to a law school that wasn't USC, it wasn't UCLA, it wasn't Berkeley, it was, but it wasn't, but he had the opportunity to go, and he was number one in his class, and that's what propelled him into his future of greatness, of doing what he does. Well, right now he is retired, and he earned that, but he's done some fabulous things, and but yeah, he was just number one in his school, and that's a blessing. That's a blessing right there. Mr. Anthony,
Yes.
I like this. What led you into a legal career?
Again, similar to what everyone else spoke about. Obviously, my father was the pace setter for everything we did, and I always emulated my brother when I wasn't still in his comic books.
Feel bad about that.
I think that it was just something that our father instilled in us, that no matter what you do, you must give back. And particularly talking about the community of Compton, and the law field or legal field was where I decided pretty early on too. I probably knew about the 10th or 11th grade that I wanted to be an attorney, and it's not because my middle name is Squire.
Okay.
But back then, this is before cell phones, we had CBs, and my CB handle was Esquire Squire.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted to be an attorney back then. So and I knew it was a way that I could give back to my community. Do something that I thought I would really like doing, and it has turned out to be a career that I really enjoy.
Well, that's really powerful. I heard you over there when you were telling Lance, yeah, you better do something pro bono up in here. So that's really wonderful.
And I must say that Anthony, one of the things when he doesn't brag about it, but one of the things he says that he's most proud of as a lawyer, and I hope I'm not saying something that you're going to add, but he's had thousands of clients over the years, and he's never charged them a dime.
Yeah, never charged so much as a nickel.
Really?
Yes.
Because of the type of work I do, I work with legal aid, and legal aid is part of the legal aid umbrella, the legal services umbrella, and so we provide free legal services in civil cases. So not only giving back to the community, but giving back to the community that otherwise would not have access to attorneys has been very rewarding for me. They're low income, they would not be able to afford attorneys. Nobody can afford attorneys, really, but they would not be able to afford any access to the courts or to the court system or legal help, and so I've done that for 33 years, so that's been very rewarding.
Where do you work?
Legal aid.
Legal aid.
It's called Community Legal Services. The office, I love the fact that I started off at Community Legal Services in Compton, again, in my hometown.
Right.
So back doing what I was doing, I was actually working with Kelvin while I was taking the bar.
Right.
But then the legal aid office was completely defunded. They had to hire an entire new staff, and I told Kelvin, I said, let me go there work for 2 years, learn how to be an attorney, how to work, then I come back. Now, I never went back. But I think we still like each other. I never went back, but I got to work at Legal Aid in Compton, and then worked there as a staff, a paralegal, then a staff attorney. Did that for 14 years, had the opportunity to become a supervisor. Went to the city of Norwalk, but for the last 2 years, I'm supervising back in Compton and Norwalk. So I'm supervising the Legal Aid office, which is free legal services for low-income individuals in Southeast Los Angeles County.
But the state gives you a check.
The federal government.
The federal somebody better give you a check.
The federal government, and we also we raise funds. We had a CDBG meeting in Compton. The city of Compton, our hometown again, gives us money to work our domestic violence clinic. So
Beautiful.
we go out and ask the cities to help us, do the services we do as well.
I got to give a copy of this show to the mayor because I'm trying to get her to sit on this couch. That is fabulous.
Oh, it's a wonderful and rewarding career.
That is really wonderful. And how did you end up doing the public interest law?
Again, I knew that's what I knew that I wanted to help the community. Now Kree's in private practice, Lance in private practice. They can do pro bono, but they could not have a business without charging people.
Hello.
So by getting the funding that we get and going out and creating additional funding sources, I'm able to live in that world where I can help people that I know can't afford to pay, and I still get paid and make a living, doing what I do. I'm not going to get rich, but that's part and parcel of doing something that makes you happy, and what I do makes me happy.
Well, and rich can be spiritual too, because because being fulfilled is rich. Well, I like that. I think that you. It's amazing. But see, this is all what your father started.
Yes, we always. In fact, I used to tell this story that my father used to say, I worked at Legal Aid before there was Legal Aid, and because Legal Aid was not started, it was actually started by Richard Nixon when he was president. And I used to tell that story. But after my father passed, they're going through the process of cleaning up my mom and my dad's house, and there was an article, and it said Maxie D. FILER, paralegal with Southeast Legal Aid Office. So they were calling it Legal Aid, even though there really was no entity called Legal Aid or Legal Services. So he was a paralegal with the first Legal Aid office in Compton while he was, in law, studying for the bar.
That was one of those odd jobs that he was working. He
That's
also worked in the city
wonderful.
attorney's office. He also parked cars for the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. And one of those young deputy city attorneys was a young man by the name of Johnny Cochran.
Oh my God.
My father used to park his car.
Okay. Oh my God. That's amazing. Well, Mr. Anthony FILER, what would you change about your career if you could have a do-over?
I probably, the only thing that if I had a regret, was that I never did get a chance to go in private practice with my brother and with my family. But who can say that could happen? So as Kelvin and I both said, that when we're retired from what we're doing now, we're going to be the of counsel to my son and to my nephew and to my niece, and we're going to sit there and
we're going to put him to work.
Wearing white socks.
Just taking up space while we're trying to work.
So I mean, that's our dream. So my one regret would be I never got a chance to see that part of it. But I've enjoyed what I do.
Really. Oh, that's beautiful.
And he's such an asset to Lance and I,
That's right.
especially as FILER Palmer has been building its family law practice. Uncle Anthony is our little encyclopedia. If there's of any issue, we know automatically to call Uncle Anthony. So it's really helpful to have family members in different parts of the law, different aspects, as opposed to we're all in this one firm. It's great getting to work with my cousin, but it's nice also to have resources, Uncle Anthony at Legal Aid, my dad with criminal law, and even just procedural things since he's a judge. And like Lance mentioned, his Aunt Della, she's the city attorney for Torrance. And so that's a whole other legal area that we have that resource, which is really helpful for us in building this new generation.
That's awesome. I'm glad you have a connection in Torrance because I had a little issue with that. But it's all right. We made up. I had a little debate. I won, but I still never mind. Anyway, it's one of those things where it's like checkpoint. Don't do that again. Okay, but it was interesting, and it was on a mandated a brochure question that was outdated as far as I was concerned on what a deposition is. Anyway, Your Honor, what are some positive highlights from your time as a judge? I know you shared one with us last time that was just amazing.
Well, the O.B. Anthony case, which is where I reversed a conviction for a young man who had been wrongfully convicted and had actually been in state prison for 17 years. That certainly was a quote-unquote highlight. But my highlight really is every day just coming to work and being able to know that I'm going to do my best to administer justice to the community. And I look forward to coming to work on Mondays. On Fridays when it's winding down, I'm kind of like wondering what am I going to do for 2 days. But I just have a joy in being able to. It's just some satisfaction that I get out of coming to work and knowing that I'm going to do my best to administer justice to those individuals who are in front of me. Because regardless of the type of case it is, and most of my cases are more serious felony cases, but for those individuals, it's an important thing, it's an important decision, it's an important matter. And I try and make sure I respect that and give that to them. But two of the highlights as a judge for me has been I swore in Lance as an attorney.
Okay.
And I recently swore in my daughter as an attorney.
All right.
And I'm looking forward to swearing in my other nephew. So those are great periods where I can sit on the bench and beam with pride as I prepare to welcome another FILER to the practice of the law.
That's right. And his career can be boiled down to just individual highlights. Though they're great highlights, he did mention when he's practicing People v. Taylor, which in my opinion revolutionized and changed criminal defense for the entire state of California. I'll let him elaborate on that too. But it's the everyday excellence that he does from the bench and the respect that he gets from people in the community that is really his legacy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to hire him.
That was good. That's it. Now let's see. The last time we spoke to, I can't have a cup of coffee without thinking about you. You know, so I know he likes his coffee.
Coffee mug.
Okay.
He's a big Laker fan. All of us are big Laker fans. All four of us. You have to be a Laker fan.
That's the other thing. You have to be a Laker fan.
Yeah. So even spouses, Lance is getting ready to make a move soon, hopefully. And we know that Fabiola will be a diehard Laker fan as well. And I don't know, should we share your other good news, Lance? Can we share that? If I give it away?
Okay, I mean, you just might as well. You know, go ahead.
We just found out that there's going to be a Lance Giovanni.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yes.
We're all very excited.
I hope I'm not spilling family secrets.
It's all over.
By the time this is aired.
Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
This
you.
is just too much fun. Okay.
Of course,
Bless
every
you.
gift he gets will probably be a future lawyer.
Yes.
That's right. One of the two.
Oh my God. Okay. And then I find this interesting. Judge Filer, why did you decide to leave politics after serving 12 years on the Compton School Board?
Well, it was just one of those things where, of course, coming from my father and my mother, it wasn't that I was giving up on politics, but it's extremely frustrating when you're dealing with your colleagues on the board, and instead of the issue being what is best for the community, what's best for the students, there was more of, well, if I support this, I vote for this, are you going to vote for the next item that I bring forward?
Okay.
And I just was not going to play politics.
Okay.
I never did, and it just became frustrating trying to get things done, trying to implement a learning process or a study program or a curriculum and say we're going to commit to this 5 years, when as soon as we get a new board member, that new board member is saying, oh, we got to bring on something new, we got to change something new because somebody supported them, gave them some money, and they want to use their program. Extremely frustrating when you couldn't get things done and you felt like people weren't there for the right reason.
Okay.
So I felt like I gave them my best shot after 12 years, and I didn't leave. I'm still involved with the schools. I'm still involved with the school district, but I just had to move on. I had to move on.
Yeah, I think elected politics is a thankless task. I would never do that. I just couldn't do it. I think Lance might have an interest in it. I would never do politics because you just 50% of the people are going to disagree with what you're doing, whether it's right, absolutely 100% right what you're doing. I couldn't deal with that.
And Lance I kind of sensed some of that aptitude from him. Yeah.
I tell you, we're gonna try to get the mayor on here. We're gonna do that.
Are you talking about Mayor H. Brown?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just send me an email. I'll forward it to him.
Okay.
He's a good friend.
Oh, good.
You know, one of the things for us, the legacy that my father established, and then Kelvin said, and then I hope that I'm leaving, and I think about how. I mean, I can think all the way through my career. You know, FILER, are you Maxie's son? FILER, are you Judge FILER's brother? Mm-hmm. But what I love now is now I'm getting FILER. Are you Lance's nephew? And so I love that. So that's because again, they're leaving a positive impression in the legal community already, and I love that. I love that because that's always a positive, not FILER. Well, who? But it's FILER. It's always a positive. Wow, your father did this, your brother did this, your nephew this, and those are all positive things. So I really appreciate that Kree and Lance are following that trail that was set for us.
It's absolutely beautiful. There are 5 people in this room, and out of the 5, 4 of them are filers, and they bad. They working and shaking and changing things in the community. I think that's absolutely awesome. Okay, Anthony, what do you tell young people that ask you about going to law school or they want to become a lawyer?
You bring that up, and I actually am an instructor. I teach paralegal studies and law courses, family law, introduction law. And what I tell my students is this, and one of the questions that people ask is law school hard? I tell them law is a lot of work. I mean, law school is committing yourself to it. Is it hard? It's not like being a mathematician. You have to know math to be a mathematician, and obviously you're going to learn the law. But it's applying yourself to the point where there's really nothing else in your life for a 3-year period. And then you got to take that bar and you got to pass that bar. But I tell them that when you do take on this responsibility, when you do decide to become a lawyer, again, that's part of my pitch is you always have to give back. I don't care how big an attorney you become. I don't care what type of law you practice. Remember this obligation to give back to people that otherwise can have access to the courts by doing pro bono work, for example. So I encourage. I like to say I've had a lot of students that are now attorneys, even though they're paralegal courses. I got selected for jury duty about 3 years ago in Bellflower, and they went through the voir dire, and the judge said, well, I knew the criminal defense attorney, so he said, well, you're not going to be able to serve, but you're not getting off that easy. You're going to go next door. There's a case starting next door. I walked into that courtroom. Both the public defender and the DA were my former students.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I love that. That's a great thing.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You've got an awesome anointing on your family. Anyway, well, thank you for joining us on From the Halls of Justice, and we look forward to seeing you next week where we will continue with the legacy of FILER. See you next week. Wow.